Hey guys, how's everyone doing today? So in this video, I thought it would be very useful to share with you the types of stretching that you can have in your practices. As you noticed, lots of people talk about stretching, but just as many people talk about yoga, there are many types of stretching, right? So when you say yoga, you've got plenty of types of yoga. You've got hatha yoga, you've got vinyasa, you've got meditation, you've got ashtanga, etc., etc., etc. Same in stretching, depending on the type of stretching you will be opting for and on the type of stretching you will be focusing on, you will obtain according results accordingly, which explains why some people they target a particular objective, but because of the fact that they use the wrong stretching technique, they don't actually reach the desired result, or they reach it much slower than the others. Obviously, the initial flexibility factor is also important. How flexible how flexible is your starting point, like your collagen percentage in your body, whether you did any flexibility sessions prior to this or not, whether you did ballet or not, whether you did gymnastics or not. There are plenty of factors to take into consideration. It's up to you to make your own assessment of yourself before engaging in any stretching activity, and before you target a particular goal, or if you have already a goal to target, you should make a full assessment of yourself. So I'm gonna start with the three main stretching that we actually tend to practice without knowing that we actually practice them. So number one is static stretching. So static stretching is do not confuse with passive stretching. I'm probably gonna start with explaining what a passive stretching is. This is basically you assume a position with your body, a position where you feel relaxed enough. So this is not your maximum stretching point, which means, for example, if you want to do a split and your maximum is like this, you're gonna stay in this position, your muscles are gonna remain relaxed, and you're gonna maintain this position with the help of an apparatus or a person that will be assisting you. So in the case of a split, what I mean apparatus, a typical example is when you're doing a split on the floor is the apparatus. It means that if you don't have this apparatus, if you're doing a split in the air, you cannot open as much as if you were on the floor. That doesn't mean that you're not relaxed, but that doesn't mean that you reach your maximum. Okay, now the moment you reach your maximum and you maintain it, this is called static stretching. So the difference is gonna be that you're gonna reach a maximum point which you cannot exceed anymore, because either you'll get injured or this is your maximum, you're already suffering enough, it's already painful enough, and you're gonna maintain it. This is static stretching. And passive stretching is actually you're relaxing. Another example, a more prominent example, a gymnast that is warming up. So a gymnast is gonna use passive stretching just to sit in a split because it's her relaxing posture. For a gymnast, she's gonna sit and her muscles are completely relaxed. While practicing her over splits, she's gonna do an over split with the help of an apparatus like a chair or anything else. And it's gonna be an over split, and here is gonna be static stretching, not passive stretching. Okay, all right. Next type of stretching, dynamic stretching. It consists in moving repetitively, like doing the same motion, for example, small grand battements, but within your range of flexibility. So you're not doing any jerky or bouncy movements and overstretching yourself. You're staying within the range of your movement without overdoing it. So the risk of injury obviously is very slim. Since you're not going beyond your body capacities, you're just warming it up. Basically, it's a very good stretching technique to start with when you before any dance class or martial art class, or in general, like any kind of sporty class that you're about to start, just to warm up your body and to unleash your ligaments. So this is called dynamic stretching. And another type of stretching, we've got active stretching. So far we've covered static, passive, dynamic, and now active stretching. Now active stretching consists in not using any help, any physical support. So for example, I lift my leg and I keep it for a while, for like 10 to 15 seconds. This is the type of stretching you do during yoga, for example. A typical hatha yoga class is an active stretch class, because you're using your own body muscles, the agonist muscles, to help you keep your leg. For example, a typical example, I'm gonna try on myself right now. So I'm lifting my leg, right? I'm lifting with my agonist muscles, which are my quadriceps over here, right? My quadriceps, and then my hamstrings over here are the antagonist muscle. They are completely relaxed over here, while here it's contracted, okay? I'm lifting with this muscle, which is helping me to maintain my range of motion. Obviously, you're not gonna be able to lift your leg too much. You're not gonna go to the maximum of your flexibility in terms of flexibility, but this kind of stretching helps you, if coupled, it's necessary to couple it with other kind of stretching, like passive and static stretching. This kind of stretching improves your static passive stretching like sessions, and improves your flexibility eventually, and it improves your active flexibility. It means like things like splits in the air, full pole dancer, the V posture, doing grand battements. This is all like dancing, and then you do a grand battement of a sudden, and you know, instead of like so there's a difference between passive stretching, passive flexibility. It means you can do the split on the floor, but you cannot do it in the air. When you can do it in the air, this is active flexibility. And here you engage your own muscles to maintain yourself. It's the kind of flexibility, that impressive flexibility that ballet dancers have, that everybody wants. So this is active stretching. Like, it's important to practice active stretching for this. And last one, and last but not least, the ballistic stretching. It's actually the stretching that causes the most injuries, and that sadly lots of people practice out of either frustration or because they feel like, okay, they think that if you bounce in and out many times that you're gonna reach the flexibility quicker. So it's called ballistic stretching. It's typically when you're trying your split and you go boom, 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 much beyond your range of motion, and you bounce every time you go down, okay? This is a technique that is used by only advanced athletes, advanced dancers with a very high range of flexibility, which can control what we call their stretch reflex. Because actually when you overstretch, your muscles, they have what we call a muscle spindle. These are receptors that send a message to your nervous system that something is happening. Your body is stretching beyond its limits, and it contracts out of a sudden. And it actually end up in reducing your flexibility if you do it, if you don't use this technique properly. So as I said, this is probably not the right technique for you to use. I personally discourage it, even though I tend to use it sometimes. It happens from time to time when you feel frustrated, when you're like, okay, just why the split is not, I'm not getting the split I want today, so I'm gonna try to bounce sometimes. But this is actually how I got my first injury also. Hey, I'm still paying for it kind of when I was a kid. It's the kind of injury that lasts for a very, very long time, months, sometimes years. So before proceeding to ballistic stretching, unless you're a high professional dancer or you really know how to master this technique, and you're used to mastering your stretch reflex also, which is not an easy thing to do, I highly discourage you to use this technique, so ballistic stretching. So we've covered static stretching, passive stretching, dynamic stretching, active stretching, ballistic stretching, and the last one is isometric stretching. This is a mix. I personally think the perfect stretching to improve all your active, passive, and static flexibilities. It consists in, with the help of someone or a support, to contract your muscles to resist to the maximum. So for example, I'm stretching my wrists. I'm gonna press against my hand with this one, and this hand is gonna resist. You contract your muscle to the maximum, so this wrist muscle is contracting, and then you release. And then again. And the same goes, for example, when you're practicing your, let's say I'm doing my splits. So someone is here, let's say. I'm gonna press against, so my hand is pressing towards my glutes, and my leg is pressing away. So I'm gonna press away with my leg, I'm gonna contract, and then you release. And you feel this whole area stretching. It's a very good technique also. Another good technique also is when you're doing your split posture. So let me show you. Up. So I'm doing my split, right? And I'm gonna press with my heel against the floor as if I wanted to smash the floor. And I'm gonna press with my toes towards myself. So press. You feel like these muscles are being contracted. This muscle is being contracted, and then you release. And then again, you press and release, and press and release. This is a very, I personally think this is a marvelous technique to improve your flexibility, both your active and passive flexibility. I highly encourage you to use it. And in my videos, I actually use like a mix of these techniques. In my own practices, I also use a mixture of all these stretchings. So far, this is all I had to say about this topic. If you obviously have any other useful sources to share with me, I'll be very happy. If you have any comments or questions around the topic, of course, feel free to ask me. I'll be happy to research it and to deliver you the most accurate answer possible. Okay? So I'll see you in my next videos, and stay happy, stay flexy, stretch well, stretch safe, most of all. Bye-bye.